Guys, I hope you had a great day. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to go live Monday, Wednesday from here on out. So give me 1 second to get started. Get my notes here, but we got a lot we're going to talk about today. So we got a lot we're going to talk about today. Sorry about being late. This is our second time, so we're trying to get all the kinks out. We're going to talk about MicroStrategy. We're going to talk about XRP, Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Ethereum, what's happening, where it's going over the next few months. So there's a lot to talk about today. So like I said, I hope you guys are ready. It's going to be a great day. We got 44 watching. So let's get started. From now on, we're going to do 10:30 every Monday and Wednesday. We're a little bit late today, but we're getting all the kinks out. So like I said, I hope you guys are having a great day. But first thing we want to talk about is MicroStrategy, right? So a lot of people ask me a lot of questions about MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy actually stopped Bitcoin purchases. Now I want to talk about 2 or 3 things with MicroStrategy. I want to talk about what they're doing, why they stopped, and thirdly, are they possibly running an illegal trust? Because I believe they are. I believe that MicroStrategy is running an illegal trust, and I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't invest in it anymore. I made a lot of money by investing in the options before Trump got elected because I knew that MicroStrategy would go up a lot if Trump did get elected because Trump, of course, is the pro-crypto president. But I wouldn't touch MicroStrategy going forward, and I would tell you why. Now, it could continue to go up. Remember, nobody's right about anything 100%. It's all about managing risk, making the best of opportunities, and just hopefully being right most of the time along the way. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't touch it anymore. So MicroStrategy halted Bitcoin purchases. They have $30 billion worth of Bitcoin right now. A lot of people are asking me questions like, what happened? The company actually stopped this aggressive Bitcoin accumulation out of nowhere. They hold 471,000 Bitcoin right now. They are one of the biggest holders in the world of Bitcoin. There's a few other people that have more, but they hold roughly about 4% of the total supply, which is dangerous, but it's a free market, so anybody can buy as much Bitcoin as they want. This marks the end of 12 consecutive weeks of MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin. So nobody knows. They haven't sold any shares. It could be there's market consolidation. They're waiting for better price action, or they're waiting for the strategic reserve by Trump, which may or may not happen over the next few months. So, and that's really what was driving Bitcoin's price over the last 3 months. So they're like a holding period more than likely, but it's no reason to be afraid. A lot of people are saying, is this a bad sign? It's not necessarily a bad sign. It's just that MicroStrategy decided it could be a capital problem. It could be another type of problem, or it could just be that they're waiting for better prices. So it's nothing to be worried about. It's not a sign of the bad times. Remember, we're still very early in the Bitcoin bull market. So it's nothing to be worried about, right? So like I said, is that there's regulatory shifts. Trump is not, we all expected Trump to do something about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in the first few days in office. Didn't happen. That's not saying that he won't do something, but it is saying that possibly it could happen a lot longer. Now, the bull cycle after the halving is still going to happen regardless. Like I told people before, it didn't matter if Harris got elected or Trump got elected. It did not matter because in the Bitcoin bull cycle, the halving has cut the supply, the new supply. The demand goes up. Bitcoin has to respond. Then altcoins have to respond after Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin traditionally and going forward has always been a driver of the market. That's how it's been in the past. That's how it's going to be. Remember, I always say a rising tide raises all ships, and that's Bitcoin. When Bitcoin goes up, altcoin season is very, very closely behind. So, Bitcoin bring the Bitcoin chart up. Bitcoin briefly dipped below 100,000 following global economic shifts, including Trump's tariffs. We rebounded at about 98,000. bring Bitcoin. I can bring it up. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart right now. Millennia coin is 167. That was a scam. So Bitcoin right now is at 97, right below 98. It spiked up around yesterday at 2 o'clock. It got past 100 again, but we've been below 100 for a while now. So we've got 1,200 people following. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to go live every Monday, every Wednesday from here on out. And we'll spend an hour discussing these topics. So Bitcoin right now, like I said, is at past over 100, down below 100. And like I said, this is mostly due to Trump not acting on Bitcoin as he was supposed to. As we expected him to do. He didn't act on it, so people are scared now. You got the tariffs out there. You got fears of inflation. Bitcoin, for some crazy reason, has been tied to stocks. You know, all the way up into 2006, 17, 18, we considered Bitcoin an inverse asset, which would be inverse to the stock market. And a lot of people don't remember this. I've been in crypto since 2011, a long time. And I remember in the early days of cryptocurrency, we wanted the market to crash. And a lot of you old timers will remember this. We were thinking if the market crashed, if there was global turmoil, we would expect Bitcoin to be more of a risk-off asset. People would buy it, get Bitcoin as almost like gold. Gold works in that way, is that when there's global turmoil, when there's fears of inflation, when there's fears of wars, gold actually goes up because people consider it a risk-off asset, which means that when the risk is high, that's an asset that will go up or won't change in value. So they dump risk assets like stocks or whatever, and we considered Bitcoin to be digital gold. If Bitcoin was digital gold, it would be a risk-off asset. Therefore, people would buy it when there was high risk. But apparently sometime between 18 and 20, it connected to the stock market, really with COVID, I think. That's when it really connected. And now it moves with the stock market. I have no idea how that happened. Got 1,300 on live today. Let me see, look at the questions. How do you feel about XCN? I'm not watching that one right now. Mondo, this looks great. Congratulations on the new set. What is the rich and elite do to crypto? Exactly, nice job. Looks like an MSNBC financial show. Love the new setup. So hopefully we got rid of all the audio issues so it'll be clean and smooth going forward. So Mexico did reach an agreement to delay the tariffs, so that caused Bitcoin to come back. It dropped down as low. If we go to the, let me see. We go to the 7-day chart. Bitcoin actually fell almost to 92.5, 92, and it rebounded up. That was when those tariff fears got very, very high. After that, Bitcoin rebounded. And it's settled about right under 100,000. Now, in order for people to remain confident of Bitcoin, we got to stay over 100,000 because that's a round number. Remember, there's a psychological. Whenever we get to round numbers, people see that as a psychological barrier or a psychological support. So it has to get there. If it doesn't, we're going to see a crash. We're going to go over technical analysis on Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum pretty soon. Give me a second. So let's move on. We're going to talk about Ethereum next. So remember, there's a few companies that actually bought a lot of Bitcoin in the last 60 days. Marathon Digital Holdings bought 44,000 Bitcoin, holding 45,000 Bitcoin as of now. The government is exploring that Bitcoin strategic reserve. We don't know when it's going to happen. A lot of countries, a lot of states, a lot of local communities and local counties are considering adding Bitcoin to their coffers. So we're still in a very, very positive trajectory for all of cryptocurrency, right? So let's talk a little bit about Ethereum. XRP struggles to keep up. Remember, XRP and I think Ethereum is my #1 crypto. I'll talk about XRP a lot, but I still believe strongly in Ethereum's possibility to be the #1 crypto. People say that's crazy. 2017, Ethereum got to almost 80% of Bitcoin's market cap, which is, it sounds ridiculous now, but it did. Also, XRP was #2 during that same year. It passed Ethereum. That was a different time. Hopefully we can see some of that this cycle. 2020 was a cycle that I say it was an outlier because of COVID, because of the Ukraine war started at the end of 21. A lot of those things, that turmoil all over the world, actually cut that cycle short. So we got from the top of the last cycle, and that cycle was 18, January of 18, I'm sorry, December of 17, we got in Bitcoin specifically, we got to 19,000, almost 20. Ethereum, the January of 18, it got to I think, where did it get to? It got to like 1,400. So because of those, because of those two things, and then the next cycle was 2020. In 2020, we saw Bitcoin, the previous top it got down to 3,000 during the COVID crash. It got back up to 67,000 and it crashed back down. Now, I think that cycle was cut short because of COVID, worldwide turmoil, and everything that was happening in those 2 years. So I don't consider that a full example of this full bull cycle. I see it as just an outlier, but I think this cycle will make up for it. If Trump does that strategic reserve, if the things play out like we think they're going to play out, Bitcoin will be at 300,000, 250,000. I always said 250, but it could pass 300,000, but those things have to happen. Now, if they don't happen, we may see it at a lower amount. Don't know. But I still believe in Ethereum. Bitcoin does have some strengths over Ethereum. Bitcoin is always the one that dominates the market. And right now, it's like I said, it's right under 100,000. But remember, the bull market is always driven by Bitcoin. So let's see if we have any questions. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Somebody said I was late to get into Palantir. We're going to talk about Palantir later. Do you think Ethereum will become a dinosaur coin? I don't think so, and I'm explaining to you why. Let's touch on that for a second before we move on with Ethereum. Is that, for those of you who don't know me, some of you don't know who I am. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, continue to watch. But I'm a futurist. I'm a technology expert. I've been in technology for a long time. What I do is I use my futurist abilities. That's a person that tries to predict the future based on what he knows, past trends, historical trends, and a lot of other things. And I'm also a technologist, but I use those skills I learned over the last 15, 16 years to invest in emerging technologies. So in this channel, all we talk about is crypto and tech stocks. That's it. We don't talk about Coca-Cola. We don't talk about all these other stocks, Walmart. We don't talk about that. All we talk about is crypto and tech stocks. That's it. So people always, it gets me mad because I'm older. You know, I've been in crypto a while. I'm in my 40s. So I started in crypto when I was in my late 20s. Back with Bitcoin, you know, it was an exciting time back then, but it was mostly a technology. I didn't see the investment potential for 3 more years. But what is real weird is that people will, especially young people, is that I'll say Ethereum's going to do good. XRP is going to do well. Young people come at you and say, that's an old coin. I can't believe, what are you talking about? You're an old man. There's new coins, meme coins and all this stuff. And people don't realize technology takes time. Technology takes time. And people don't realize this because you get a new iPhone every 6 months. You believe that because you get a new iPhone every 6 months, that technology is evolving. That's not technology or evolution. That's marketing. They're marketing that to you. They hold back features so that you will believe that technology is evolving. Technology is very slow. Adoption takes a ridiculous long time. People don't realize that because they only see the marketing side of technology. A new TV comes out every year. At CES, they got new stuff every year. And people say, wow, look at all this new technology. Technology doesn't evolve that fast. CDs were created in the late 70s. We didn't get mainstream adoption for compact disc until the early 1990s. Digital music was created in the early 90s. We didn't get widespread usage of digital music until the mid-2000s. The telephone was created 40 years before 75% of households had it. So same thing with electricity, same thing with the internet. The World Wide Web as we know it was created in 1992. The internet was created in the 70s. We didn't get really true use of the internet widespread until the late 90s, early 2000s. We're talking about 10, 15 years of evolution, 10, 15 years of adoption. It takes time. It's not instant. Ethereum came out in 2015. We're 10 years in. 10 years in. Bitcoin was 2009. We're only about 16 years in. It takes 20 years sometime for a technology to integrate and adopt into society. We're still extraordinarily early. And something like Bitcoin is even different because for the first 5, 6 years, it was a cult. It was a cult thing. Now, technology like the telephone, the electricity and stuff like that was a corporate invention. General Electric created, was really pushing that electric stuff back in the early, late 1800s. But crypto rose from the grassroots. So it was dismissed for 5 or 6 years, like it was something scammy or a criminal. Ross just got out, shout out to Ross. But people saw it as something criminal. So it got pushed to the side until around 2017. So the real inception of Bitcoin as a corporate, as a social thing happened in 2017, 2018. That's when corporations really started to look at it. That's when people started to actually accept it. That's when companies started to accept it. So we're only about 8 years in on this. Technology takes 15, 20 years. We're very, very early on all of this, right? So that's gets back to my original point about Ethereum. Of course, Ethereum's slow. 2015, and people always come back and they say, what about the gas fees? What about this? Solana's faster. But you have to remember, technology takes time, and this is something that people don't realize. We talk about that in the book, Strategic Millionaire. Make sure you go out and get it. It's on Amazon. But is that technology always starts out as slow, inefficient, and expensive. It always does. Think about all the technologies that you know in your life. If you remember those CD players back in the early 90s, late 80s, the compact disc that you carried with you, the portable one, they were $500, $600 in those days. So it's equivalent of $1,000 today, you know, and they were expensive. They didn't work well. A lot of technology starts out like that, but things get better over time. If there's a big opportunity, you have to remember this. With Ethereum or with a big technology like the compact disc, companies will put a lot of money into research and development, and they will fix the issues. That's the same thing with Ethereum. I know some Ethereum developers personally. They're working on ways to fix these things. And when these things get fixed, Ethereum, I believe, is a stronger blockchain than Solana. There's more apps developed on Ethereum. There's more corporate, and it's been out longer. Corporations will trust it more. Solana also has problems. People say Solana is going to overtake Ethereum. I doubt it. I like Solana a lot, but I doubt it's going to overtake Ethereum. But Ethereum is losing ground with Bitcoin. So let me get that Ethereum chart up. So how you guys like the new setup? We're going to be going live every Monday and Wednesday from now on. What the heck? This ain't working. There we go. I guess it's slow. So we got Ethereum right now is at 2,700. Remember, Ethereum's all-time high was 4,700. We're nowhere near that. Bitcoin is clearly past all-time highs. Ethereum is nowhere near it. Almost 40. What is it at? About 60% of all-time highs. So a lot of people are worried about Bitcoin, where it's at. Ethereum, where it's at and where it's going. So like I said, if you're following, make sure you make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these. You're also going to do some live trading. No, I'm not doing live trading on this channel. Well, maybe in the future. I don't know. I'm not a day trader, so I don't day trade. So I won't do any live trade. Maybe I'll buy some if the market's down like I did on my Instagram live. When the market was down, I think XRP was down in the low, I think it was right below $2. I bought $25,000 live, but I'll do stuff like that if I see an opportunity. But I won't be day trading live. I'm not a day trader. I'm a sometimes swing trader. mostly a long-term investor. So I'm not a day trader, so I won't be live trading here. So you think XRP to 50 this year? I doubt it to go to 50. 50 is a long way. But I want to talk about something else, but let's get through this Ethereum content. Now, Ethereum is in the worst bull run. This is the worst bull run performance since 2016 in Ethereum. I'm kind of disappointed. I thought Ethereum would be better. I actually predicted that we would see all-time highs in January. That didn't happen. I'm not always right. So we did not see that happen. But I believe that Ethereum could catch up eventually. Ethereum, since Ethereum's inception, it's outperformed Bitcoin in every single cycle. So I believe it still will. I think there's some delay because of all the things that's happening. Remember, Bitcoin actually rose faster than it should have. The average bull cycle, Bitcoin reaches its all-time highs later in the cycle, right at halfway point. So I expected Bitcoin to reach all-time highs really at the end of the year. I expected to get to 100. We actually got to 109. But I expected it to be a lot slower. Remember, at the beginning of the year, we're already at 50. We already got to all-time highs with Bitcoin before the halving. That's never happened before. So we were a little bit early with all of this. And then Trump actually added fuel to the fire. So we're not, that's why I believe that altcoins are a little bit behind. It's because Bitcoin has actually moved a lot faster during this bull cycle than it should have because of Trump, because of the conversations about cryptocurrency. So when people look at the altcoins, they say, why isn't it caught up to Bitcoin? Remember, Bitcoin was already early. Bitcoin was very early in this cycle. So because of that, altcoins haven't catch up. Altcoins are more than likely following their same trajectory that they've always went in, right? About midpoint through the halving, they start to take off since the halving. So we're not at the midpoint yet. So a lot of these, they appear to be falling behind Bitcoin, but it's because Bitcoin was just so early. So somebody says, keep educating us, brother. Do you think Nextel fell? Has been bearing crypto. I like the sound of that 25,000. Any crypto wallets you suggest? I mean, crypto wallets, I would suggest you to take it off any exchange because you know what happened with FTX. You don't want to be caught up in an FTX situation. Is that once you hear about the news, you try to withdraw and it's too late. You don't want to be caught up in that situation. I was actually caught up in it with, it was somebody else that was connected to FTX. And which a lot of people were, a lot of sites were, and I ended up not losing money, but I had it locked up for about a year. Not that much, a few, but still, it's still money that I could have had in my pocket. But you don't want to be caught in a situation where your exchange actually gets shut down or steals the money, we're still in the immature industry. That happens a lot. But you want to make sure you take it off, put it on a hardware wallet. I like Arculus. Arculus is one of my favorite hardware wallets. There's also Trezor. There's a lot of, but I would make sure you put it on a hardware wallet. There's a saying in cryptocurrency, a lot of you cryptocurrency mainstays know it, not your keys, not your crypto. If you don't have physical possession of your cryptocurrency, you don't own it. The exchange owns it. If you look at Coinbase's terms of service, it says it in there that they can sell your cryptocurrency to cover any debts that they may have. Now, I know it's just something that they have, a lot of times legalese covers every possible scenario so that they have more flexibility and agility to do certain things. But still, it's in there, which means that they can take your crypto and then use it to pay off debts. So I would be afraid to keep any crypto on any exchange right now. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got 1,439 people watching live right now. I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any suggestions to this show, I would really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Instagram, Tall Guy Tycoon, Instagram, x.com, and every major platform. Tall Guy Tycoon is TALLGUYTYCOON, daily updates. We talk about crypto, we talk about tech stocks all the time. So make sure you tune in. So another thing is about XRP, right? XRP is not doing as well as actually it is doing well. I'm gonna take that back. It's doing extraordinarily well, it just kind of slowed down. Let's take a look at XRP. Remember, we're in basically a down market. So these things don't happen. The thing about trading and buying stocks in crypto is that when somebody comes into this, They believe that it should be just constant excitement. Every day you buying and selling and making money. It's normally not like that. 90% of the time you just waiting and learning and growing. And then it's a few days a year where you bam, bam, bam. That's how you make all your money. In those few days a year. So that's why you have to dollar cost average in. You have to be in before those things happen. Like we always say, is that nobody takes notice until the jet's in the sky. That's actually a Future quote by the rapper Future, but I really like it and I apply it to this. And what I mean by that is that whenever the jet's on the ground, people misunderstand how things work. When the jet's on the ground, people look at the jet and say, that's when the highest risk is. I'm not sure if that jet can fly. I'm not sure if it's going to break down. Nobody else is getting on it, so it must be high risk. But remember, when the jet's on the ground, it's gassing up. That's when you can leisurely get on the jet. That's when the flight attendant offers you a drink. You put your seat down, put your bag up, sit there, get comfortable, cross your legs, open up your book, start reading. That's the most leisurely and easy way to get on. So now the jet starts to take off. Now, some people say, man, oh man, it's about to take off. I can still get on that jet. So they run alongside the jet, jump on the jet, and get in a window. Now, that's a lot of risk, but you can still do it. You can still get on the jet. So then most people wait till it's already in the sky. And then they said that's when the risk is the lowest. When the jet's already up. When the jet was on the ground, they saw it as high risk. It's opposite of what it should be. And then when the jet's in the air, they said it's low risk. I know for sure that jet can fly. Now, I'm going to try to jump off a helicopter and jump onto the jet and get in the window. That's the highest risk point possible. There's no higher risk than that. But that's how people see crypto and stocks. They think that once it takes off, the risk is the lowest. It's actually the highest. That's why you have to dollar cost average in. You have to get into it early when the jet's on the ground, and you slowly make your way in leisurely and comfortably. And then when that jet takes off, you're already on board. But you don't wait until something takes off. That's what most people do, and that's why most people fail to make money in crypto and stocks, is because they simply do not analyze the risk correctly. So like I said, is that XRP is underperforming when you're based on other cycles. Right now, where's XRP? XRP is at 246. It hit a high of about, I think the high, what was the high of XRP? Let me take a check. Let me see. It hit a high last month, I think. Yeah, it got up to around 240, 340. Sometime January 16, middle of January 16, and we've seen a retraction like we saw in the overall cryptocurrency market. We're still at 246, which is still pretty good compared to the 30, 40 cents we were at about 90 days, 100 days ago, right before the election. So we're still doing extraordinarily well. We're up 8 to 9 times where we were for people that got in that early. So remember, there's still some legal stuff overhanging XRP. There's also some news that Brad Garlinghouse is trying to get XRP into the strategic reserve. And I believe that it's happened. I believe that dinner that Brad Garlinghouse had with Trump was based on that. Is that what he was trying to do is convince Trump, who's pro-American, who's very, very patriotic, to instead of just putting Bitcoin in the strategic reserve, to put American-made coins in that reserve. XRP is the #1 American-made coin, or American-backed coin in all of cryptocurrency. So of course, Brad Garlinghouse, some people say this wrong, that he's lobbying against Bitcoin. I think he's lobbying for his own company. That's what corporations do. That's what people don't understand about XRP. XRP is an asset, but the corporation Ripple is the one who guides that asset. Corporations work different than Bitcoin, who's more or less open source. It's a community-driven coin. It's all about ethos of decentralization and all these transparency and all of these other things. But XRP and Ripple is not like that. You can't expect a corporation to move the same way as a grassroots movement. It just don't work like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need all of these things in society for our society to run smoothly. That's how it has to be. People try to compare apples to oranges all the time. It's not the same thing. So Brad Garlinghouse,
lobbying for his own interests. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the government works. That's how the world works. So you can't sit back and complain, oh God, Brad Garlinghouse is messing up crypto. You have to, if you want to make money, you have to act to those things. You have to respond to those things. You can't be sitting there, oh God, crying and complaining about what another man does. The only thing you can do is react to it. That's it. Most people, including myself, is just, we're reactionary. The powers that be control everything, and we react. You have to react emotionless. You can't get mad. Oh, I got Bitcoin and XRP's doing. No, I see a lot of Bitcoin maxis like that. Is that's how the world works. You can't expect the world to work a different way. That's how it works. And then you, like I said again, you have to react to those. You have to sit back and say, I think that I can make money by watching what Brad Garlinghouse does. I'm not going to respond emotionally to what he does because that's what he does. That's what corporations do. That's his job. He's the CEO of a major, a semi-major corporation, Ripple. A CEO is supposed to, by definition and by the board, act in his company's best interest in whatever way possible. Of course he's going to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. So XRP did have a 24-hour trading volume that surpassed Ethereum. It shows a lot of investor interest. I also put a video where a lot of people in Japan, a lot of people don't know this, but 80% of Japan's banks are supposed to integrate XRP by the end of the year. A lot of people don't realize what's happening because it happens almost closed doors in other countries, in other places. Somebody said, you're a great actor. Thoughts on Ledger? What are your thoughts? People keep asking about XCN. I got to look this up. Let me look it up. Because I really, to be honest, man, I've been watching XCN. I don't even know what it is. but like I said, I watch mostly the top 5, top 10 coins. But let's look at what this is. Because everybody keeps telling me, Oxycoin. Yeah, I've heard of this. I'm sorry about that. Oxycoin. So yeah, I have heard about this. Sorry. I have to look at this tomorrow. On Monday, next Monday, I'll have a complete breakdown on what I think. I have to research the technology, I have to research what it does, and also research the charts. So when that happens, I'll know more about it. So another thing I want to talk about on the subject of Ethereum is that World Liberty Finance, which is Trump's coin. This is a sign that more than likely, Ethereum will be included in the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, which actually the rename should be Crypto Strategic Reserve. So Crypto Strategic Reserve is probably going to include Ethereum. And I'm telling you why. It's because World Liberty Finance, a Trump-backed DeFi project, purchased 2,900 Ethereum for $9.97 million. So that's Trump, a Trump-backed coin. Then shortly after that, Eric Trump, which I don't like, to be honest, I do not like Eric Trump. He's pro-crypto, but I think he's pro-crypto because he's actually like sees it as some kind of opportunity to make a bunch of money. And I understand that. People want to make money. But I don't like somebody who comes into something with the sole purpose of fleecing or pulling as much money out as possible and be damned what happens on the way down. That's why I didn't like Trump releasing those meme coins. I actually hated it. Because it was, to be honest, and a lot of crypto people will not admit that. Now, I'm going to say on YouTube, I don't say it on Instagram because I'm scared. I was scared of the backlash. I like Trump within crypto. Now, whatever he does, I don't know. I'm an investor. I stick to what assets are. I stick to stocks and crypto. I like Trump in that area. I'm sorry. Now, whatever else he does, I may disagree with, agree with, may not, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in this world of which I'm in, I think Trump was better than Harris. I never said that before, but I'm going to admit it now. But everything else, I don't know. Harris probably would have been better on some other stuff. Trump would have been better on some other stuff. But in this world, I think Trump was better. He's a businessman. He thinks business-wise, and conservatives historically have been pro-business, pro-markets. So that's the reason why. And people always say, you should worry about all this other stuff, social issues, whatever. That's not what I do. I'm a person. My entire life is dedicated to tech and finance. That's it. People say, what do you do for fun? This. What do you do at night? This. What else do you have in your personality?
basketball and this. And I can't play basketball no more because my knee's out. So it's just this. This is what I do all the time. And I love every minute of it. But that's my world. So in my world, yeah, Trump is better, I think, in my opinion. But I don't like his son, and I don't like them dropping those meme coins. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I think Eric Trump was doing it. I don't think Trump had nothing. I think Trump had something to do with it, but he just told his son, go ahead and do it. That dude is a money grabber, and he's not for cryptocurrency. I'm telling you, I've seen scammers before, and I'm not saying he's a scammer, but he may have that mentality. He looked at crypto and said, these idiots are making a lot of money. I see an opportunity. If these idiots are making money, which he considers us probably, I'm going to jump in and make money too. And I'm going to fleece them. That's what he thought. And he came in, started talking pro-Bitcoin, getting speaking engagements, speaking fees, dropped his own coin, a bunch of products. Because in his mind, it's just an easy opportunity to make money. He don't care about the ethos of crypto, where it's going. He don't really care. Now, Trump, I think, cares. But his son, nah. So like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. We got 1,400 people in here right now. So somebody says, ouch, not meant to be rude. Could you recommend a hard place wallet to store my XRP? Trezor is good. Also, Arculus is good. Could you recommend a hard wallet to place my XRP? I already said that. We all knew it, Armando. Pretty Virgo says. I didn't say I was a Trump supporter, Pretty Virgo. I know you. You're on Instagram too. I recognize your name. I didn't say I'm a Trump supporter. I said I support Trump within this world. That's a big difference. And a lot of times we got to stop looking at high-level concepts and just, assuming that's what I said. I didn't say that. I said within the world of investment, tech and finance, I think Trump would be better, and I support Trump in that world. Overall, I didn't say who I support. So I want to talk a little bit about, man, I'm Puerto Rican and I get shamed for sharing your same views. Politically, I'm not the biggest Trump fan, but in investing space, I like it being in office. Tough to call, said I know. So, but you were so again, back off and leave me alone. Queen Stacy, I remember you too. But I want to talk a little bit about MicroStrategy before we go on to XRP and we analyze some of these charts. Institutional demand for XRP remains strong with $67.8 million of inflows into Ethereum ETFs last month. I want to talk a little bit about MicroStrategy before we continue. And then we're going to talk about, we're going to look at some charts. So, like I said, as I invested in MicroStrategy before Trump got elected, if some of you guys know me on Instagram, I actually made it public because I believed that because of Polymarket, had Trump at 60, 70%, 80% win right before the election. I saw an opportunity and I said, well, if it's 80%, MicroStrategy's options are undervalued. Bought some MicroStrategy. I just made $120,000 in 2 days before the election. Now, I sold them immediately after. People said, why didn't you keep them, or why didn't you just buy MicroStrategy stock? And that was just an opportunity. That don't mean I believe in MicroStrategy. Now, I like what Michael Saylor is doing. I don't hate him as a person. He's a well-spoken man. He's an advocate for crypto and Bitcoin, really Bitcoin, because he's a Bitcoin maxi, a triple maxi. I like what he's doing in the world of crypto. I listen to him a lot. A lot of what he says I take to heart. But I also don't like MicroStrategy as a corporate or company structure. Because to be honest, it's an illegal trust. Now, what if I told you that I got a bunch of gold in my garage? Let's say I got $1 million worth of gold in my garage, and it's all owned by LLC. I don't do nothing else. I don't do no work. I don't do nothing. I don't have any operations. I don't sell anything, products or services. And I come to you and I tell you, I want to sell you half my LLC. You say, Armando, what do you do? Oh, nothing. I got this gold in my garage, $1 million worth of gold. So I'm going to sell you half of my company for $1.3 million. Anybody would see, a rational person would see that doesn't make sense. Why would I buy a company that only has assets at a premium price? 1.3 million for half of the gold. Half the gold's only worth 500,000. So I'm paying almost a 3 times premium, three times for that gold. A 2-time premium. Almost 2.5 times roughly. Well, nobody does that. But somehow, with MicroStrategy, they do. MicroStrategy has a certain amount of Bitcoin. They do nothing else now. And then they have a stock that's owners of that Bitcoin, and they sell you the stock at a higher price than their total holdings of Bitcoin. That doesn't make sense. And traditionally in the markets, what happens with companies like that, we saw with Grayscale, I actually predicted that back in 2020 with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, Grayscale Ethereum Trust, is a lot of people were buying those because they didn't have direct access to Bitcoin. It was harder back in those days. It wasn't that hard, but it was harder for most people to grasp, I guess. You could buy those trusts in your Bitcoin, on Robinhood and all these other apps. But, so what happens in the up times is those things that are connected to Bitcoin, those trusts and MicroStrategy, companies like that, they go up at a higher rate than Bitcoin. A lot of people buy in. Now, if you don't buy in early, you buy in late, you're bought into a premium pricing. Which means that the price that you got an intrinsic value, which means that that's the value of the stocks that represent that Bitcoin. Then you got a premium price on top of that, which means that you're paying extra money because you really want that stock. So the problem with premiums is that they collapse in the down times. So if MicroStrategy is trading at three times what its real value is, let's say the stock is worth $50. I don't know what MicroStrategy is going for. Let's say the stock's worth $50. Now it's trading at $150. You buy in at $100, you make $50, you hold it, now you think you're doing good. When the market retracts, you lose all that premium price plus some of the intrinsic value. So MicroStrategy could have a drawdown of 70% when only Bitcoin had a drawdown of 20-30% because of that premium pricing. Premiums collapse when the market crashes. And the second thing is, if it's a company that only holds Bitcoin and that's all they do, then that's a trust. That's a trust. It's not a company. And you have to file as a trust with the SEC. You can't file as a company and run as a trust. That's an illegal trust. That means that you don't have to do all the rules of having a trust. So he actually is running an illegal trust, I believe, or unregistered trust. I shouldn't say illegal, unregistered trust. It's almost like misrepresenting people. MicroStrategy is not a company. All it has is Bitcoin. It has a dude going around advocating for it. Now, the whole company could just be him himself. Now, I know it's not, but it could. So it's not a company. Stocks, remember this, a stock, when you buy a stock in a company, you're expecting that company to create value out of people, labor, and intellectual property or reselling or resources. So let's say, for example, a company that pulls out gold. Let's say a company that takes like raw materials like Apple. So Apple takes silicone, they take cobalt, they take plastic. That's worth like, let's say $5 for all that material. They build all this material, they reorganize this material into an iPhone. Now the iPhone is worth $1,000. It took some labor and stuff to do that. So the company value is based on their ability to turn this raw material into a phone, right? So you're investing in the intellect, you're investing in the ability for them to take something that's invaluable to valuable. That's what a stock is, right? Is that you're hoping that they can grow those operations. And sometimes with tech companies, those operations can grow exponentially because with tech, not iPhones because it's hardware, they also got software too, but with tech, especially software, your cost to maintain it stay relatively flat, but your profits go up. So it's an exponential growth. That's why tech companies a lot of times are valued at many times multiple what their revenue and profits are, because tech companies do have a potential to grow a lot because you make a software product and you have 10 people running the software. Then as there's more and more people that buy your software, you may still be able to run that software because it's a single point of production. You may still be able to run that. With just Instagram ran with 4 people for the first 6-7 years until Meta went along and bought them. So it's possible to run these things with a small amount of people and still make a lot of money. So that growth is exponential compared to the cost. Now with hardware, you need to do things. Let's say, for example, a tire repair store. You need more people every time a new set of tires come, you need more people to do it. So the growth is like this. It's not as exponential as, let's say, a tech company is.
He says buying Ethereum. How long have I been alive? What's the count at right now? How long? Does it say it on there? Yeah. I need a count. I need a timer. So what do you guys think about the new set for the people that are just joining? I'd love to have feedback. If you follow me on Instagram, Tall Guy Tycoon, TALLGUYTYCON, drop me some comments, leave me some DMs. I'll check them after the live. If you like it, don't like it, some things we could do better, I would love to hear from you guys. 45 minutes? God dang. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to keep this an hour every Monday, Wednesday at 10:30. So let's move on. I ain't even got halfway through. So XRP, like I said, is gathering momentum. It's still holding strong. It remains the third biggest cryptocurrency by market cap. There was a long period of stagnation, but with Trump's election, we saw XRP start to do well. I believe that quickly, soon, it's gonna surpass this all-time high again at 340. We're gonna push towards $7, $8, maybe between $8 and $25 at the end of this cycle. We'll be somewhere in there. Right now, it's testing resistance. Year-to-date, XRP has surged almost 500%, showing strong investor confidence. Ripple talks are really intensifying about XRP being included in the U.S. Strategic Reserve following President Trump's election. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has reaffirmed the company's role in the potential move, emphasizing that the U.S. has a high likelihood of a government-backed crypto reserve. We're hoping that this executive order comes out. It can benefit U.S.-based cryptos. We're hoping that Trump does actually do the tax-free U.S.-based cryptos, which would help XRP more than any other crypto because XRP is number 3, and people will move a lot of their capital over. So like I said, is that there's 3 things that has to happen with XRP. One is that we need President Trump to include that into the strategic reserve. Brad Garlinghouse is working on that. 2, we have to have that lawsuit completely and utterly resolved. It's not 100% resolved yet. And 3, we need Trump to say tax-free cryptocurrencies. Now, my range of XRP always was up to last year, $8 to $25. I said that when it was below 40 cents, and you guys remember that. But I believe that we could be closer to that $25 mark if we can be closer to that $25 mark if all of these things happen. Now, a lot of people will say that market cap, there's a market cappers, they always respond when you give a prediction that high of XRP that the market cap won't support it. But that's what we call an anchor bias. An anchor bias is when a person anchors their beliefs to whatever's happening today. So this is a world in which Bitcoin is 3-4 times higher than it is right now. This is a world when Ethereum may be at closer to 10,000. Now, at that valuation, Bitcoin's market cap 4 times higher would be $8 trillion. So in that case, why can't XRP be at 25? 25 would put it at what? What would 25 put it? Close to, yeah, it would put it at about, if XRP got to $25, it would be actually less than Bitcoin's market cap right now. So if Bitcoin got to 400,000, XRP just took 20%, let's say 20% of that. That gives it at 16%. Let's say, let's say 25%. 25% of what Bitcoin's market cap is. That puts it around $25, $30. So why isn't that possible? That's absolutely possible. So let's talk a little bit about some analysis of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Internet's slow. I don't know why, but let's look at Bitcoin's chart, 7-day chart. Let's look at where it's at right now. Bitcoin is trading just at under 100,000. The support, Bitcoin has a strong support zone at 92, right at 92 and a half. Support has been tested 6 times, confirming its strength. Bitcoin is broken downward, trending resistance line and back as it's tested support.
indicating that we're probably more than likely having bullish momentum. The next major resistance point in Bitcoin is coming up now. It's going to enter, then it enters price discovery. Bitcoin must break back above that channel to hold its support. Fundamentals in Bitcoin still remain strong. Talks of a strategic reserve. First time a pro-crypto government has ever been in cryptocurrency. Those two things show us that Bitcoin more than likely will still do extraordinarily well. So if Bitcoin breaks below that $90,000 mark, the next support's at 85 and 80. Now we cannot break the 92. Let me put in candlesticks. Yeah, we cannot break 92 again. We've tested it 6 times. If we break 92, there's a retraction down to 85, even down to 80. So those are the next support lines. So we have to, hopefully it doesn't go that far. If it does break 92, remember it's more highly likely to go down to 85. Could be a buying opportunity. If it goes below 85, it's probably going down to 80. Another great opportunity. So if it did break, I would buy more of it, because I know that over the next year, we're still going to see Bitcoin at past 200,000. I know it doesn't seem like it now, but eventually you will see what we're talking about. Nothing ever seems like it because things are slow. Things appear to be slow because remember, trading and investing is it's like watching grass grow. If you watch it, you notice it doesn't seem like it's moving, but if you go off somewhere for a year, come back, the grass is everywhere. So that's a lot of times how crypto, how stocks work. It's just a slow market. So let's move on. Talk a little bit about Palantir, and we'll let you guys go for the day. So let's bring that up. So Palantir right now is trading at 101, a little bit down from where it was earlier. We get up. I got to bring up TradingView, but I'm not signed on here. So next time I'll be signed on. I'll be signed on to TradingView. So it'll be a lot easier to see the charts. We can do this for right now. Palantir has soared 28% just on Tuesday based on the positive earning. They were up 36% in revenue. They surged to a $240 billion market cap, solidifying AI leadership, especially in government contracts. Company's market cap, like I said, is $240. They surpassed McDonald's, Disney's, American Express. That one move secured their top 50 position. And Palantir, like I said, is mostly AI-driven software, which we talked about software earlier. Software, NVIDIA, remember, is a hardware manufacturer, so their costs are more linear. So as their growth goes up, their costs also go up. But remember, NVIDIA is almost a hybrid company. It's a lot hardware, a lot software, kind of like Apple. But that means that their cost will scale in a way with their production and their demand. Palantir doesn't work like that. Palantir is a AI software company. So because they're a software company, a lot of times their growth or cost won't scale the same as a hardware company. That means that their profit will go up a lot faster than what their costs would. Now they have to hire more people, they have to hire more staff, more labor, but it's not consistent and linear with their growth and demand. So there's a lot more profit to be made on Palantir as opposed to like NVIDIA going forward. I called out Palantir when it was at $6. I saw the potential. It's at 100 now. A lot of people made a lot of money if you made money. If you heard me call it out at 6, I was actually at 6, I said it was going to 100. Now, nobody else said that. At $6, I said Palantir is going to 100. And anybody can, in the chats that remember that, you can actually, you can say it right now. Just tell them, yeah, I remember that. But Palantir exceeded, not my expectations, but it exceeded most analysts' expectations. When Palantir rose from $6 to 40, almost all analysts said it was overvalued and it was going to crash. It wasn't going to crash. The thing about it is that most people, I'm a technologist, I'm a futurist, and that's how I make my investments. I don't make my investments based on what the charts say. Now, I look at the charts to know when to get in and out or where stuff's going, but I base mine on underlying social trends and technology adoption. I don't base, so I work backwards from that. I got a book coming out there, actually Future Wealth, that's going to talk about how wealth is going to be built in the future. But But what I do is I look at a trend. I say, well, AI, ChatGPT caused me to do that when it came out. Well, AI is going to, whenever all the corporate people see ChatGPT, they're going to go headfirst into AI. What are they going to need next? NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA was one of the biggest GPU producers in the world. People need those chips. So obviously, NVIDIA has to do well. It's called a pick and shovel strategy. So that's what I chose. NVIDIA went up, got in at about $80, went all the way up to $1,000 at a split. So we're up 12, 13 times on NVIDIA because the ability to see that play. So Palantir, I saw it also because I knew that this is how technology works. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with AI. A lot of people, them analysts, they understand charts, they understand valuation, they understand fundamentals. They don't understand underlying social trends. They don't understand how technology adoption works. They don't understand how technology is cycled. So AI was going to be hardware first as companies rushed to build their own infrastructures. 2 was going to be software. As the infrastructure is built, companies have to invest in software. You know, and remember this, a lot of companies built their individual, it could have been cloud-based services or whatever. They had to buy and build those servers for AI. AI takes a lot of chips, a lot of electricity, a lot of space to really do it the right way, server rooms that are huge. So next would be software. Companies would use that infrastructure to buy software or either create their software. Palantir was number 1. So that's why I got in Palantir at 6. Now a lot of analysts, Kathy Woods and stuff, is saying, well, we're in the software phase. I said that a year ago that this would be next. Now, 3rd is to move to cloud-based systems. So companies like Amazon, it's going to be some other cloud-based startups and stuff. They're going to be the ones who do well in the 3rd phase. 4th phase is disillusion. That's when the bubble burst. That means that AI, in every technology that's ever happened, that it never meets expectations. Because people will say that it can do all this stuff. People will think that they do well. And then the thing about technology is that once it's in society, it becomes normalized. And when something becomes normalized, people don't respect it like they should. And I told you I got a story back when I was small. I wrote it in my new book, actually. It's coming out at the end of the year. When I was, let's say when I was like in college, right? First year in college, in robotics, I was studying computer science, but I was building this robot over the summer. Man, I spent months on this robot, months. And what this robot could do is it had a sensor on the front, and it had a mechanical arm. And it would drive around the room, and it would, like, you throw multicolored balls around. So it would look at all the balls, it would find a red ball, and it would pick it up and put it in a little thing on his back. So I did that. And I was so excited about this robot. And I showed my family one day during a family reunion or something. Look at this robot, look what this robot can do. And the kids were like, what? Walked away and didn't even look at it. And in my mind, I did something extraordinary. For somebody to develop something like that, and I remember what a kid said. Well, anything can do that. Any toy can do that. That's normal. But it actually was extraordinary to do something like that. But because people were normalized to technology, it no longer was exciting. It no longer dazzled them anymore. And that's what happens to AI, is that once it becomes a point where it's completely and utterly normalized, it no longer enchants. Because it doesn't enchant, people are disillusioned. They stop investing in it. And that's when the bubble burst. It happened with .com. It happened with AI. Remember, AI has been in 3 cycles. Remember, people don't realize this. AI came in 1956. In the 80s, there was a big AI bubble. In the mid, 2010, 2015, somewhere around, there was another AI bubble and it crashed. And we're in the 3rd one right now. People don't realize this. AI, if you look back, there's a movie out there. What's the name of the movie? Mo Money. It's got the Wayans brothers in it. In that movie, there's somebody's doing credit card fraud. This is like the early 90s. So in that movie, the dude, they go to this credit card company, they ask the dude, how do you select who gets credit cards and who don't? The dude references AI. We have an AI algorithm that actually tells who gets credit and who doesn't. So that's AI. AI has been out a long time. People just didn't know what was happening. So
So like I said, Palantir still has a long way up. A lot of people, one big analyst, I forget his name, Ives, he said that he can see Palantir having the same trajectory as Tesla since 2015. I agree with that. I think Palantir could be at $400 or $500, maybe even past that over the next few years. It's a great buy still. I think it's going to still do well. I think it still has a lot of potential. So analysts across investment firms have raised their price targets since that revenue drop. A revenue increase recognizes Palantir's momentum. Deutsche Bank acknowledged that the company is very impressive, increased their price target. Goldman Sachs increased it. Remember, Palantir works with the government. The government is increasing defense spending. Remember, Trump actually announced the Stargate project, which was to make sure the United States led the way in AI. Palantir is one of the only few companies on earth that benefits directly from that. It hasn't shown up in the stock price yet, but it will eventually. So like I said, the company's revenue is 55% from the government. As AI adoption accelerates, Palantir is poised at the forefront of data-driven decision-making across all industries. Stock's up 35% over the last few weeks. It's still going to do well. It's a long-term buy. I'm going to hold it for a while. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to ask any questions. We'll close this session for the day. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., if you ever subscribe to the channel, I really would appreciate that. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. Ask any question you want, and I'll try to answer them. Armando, thank you for creating this channel. It is more enriching to hear you lecture without your blocked energy interruptions, and thanks again for this platform, big guy. Yeah, I'm not going to block people here. So I usually block people on IG, but I'm not going to do it now. So I'm just going to lecture, talk every Monday, Wednesday, from here on out. Which wallet you suggest? I said Arculus and probably Trezor. Thoughts in CVE, Armando? I don't know what that is. Oklo. Yeah, I'll talk about Oklo. So we talked about AI. We talked about where it's going. We talked about, we'll talk about, we know about humanoid robotics. We know about blockchain technology. All of these things use a ridiculous amount of electricity. Oklo, let me see what Oklo is doing, but Oklo still has a long trajectory up because Oklo was another one I called out below $10 because we knew it's another pick and shovel play, which means that it has to be something out there that supplies the trend. Oklo supplies the trend. We need nuclear energy. A lot of people are afraid of nuclear energy. They say, well, what about the Simpsons with the 3-odd fish? What about all these Chernobyl and all these other things? That was 30 years ago. Nuclear energy is safe now. Remember, another analogy is that back in before 1950, planes crashed all the time. If you got on a plane, you literally was risking your life, a commercial plane. They didn't have the ability to fly above the clouds. They flew in the weather. So imagine that, flying with thunderstorms, lightning hitting your plane, all this turbulence. And that's how people flew for like 15 years, 20 years until they came up, they invented jets, or it became mass adopted. And they started flying above the clouds. Above the clouds, there's very little turbulence. That's when the masses came into commercial flying, and that's when it started to become a daily occurrence and people started doing it. People were terrified of flying before that, terrified, because it really, to be honest, was not safe. Same with nuclear power. Nuclear power, to be honest, was a little bit crazy at first, but now that's 30 years ago. They've gotten over those issues. They know how to contain the nuclear reactions. They know how to safely get rid of the waste. Now, you can take a 30-pound ball of uranium in a reactor that's not much bigger than this room, and you can run a small city from that for 20 years without adding any other fuel into it except water. The ball of uranium gets so hot that it boils water, the water turns turbines, and then that's how you generate electricity. No, you don't have to add coal to it, no gas. The ball of uranium, which is a metal, is radioactive, and it gets so hot that it can boil water, and the water is what we use to turn the steam, turns the turbines, and we generate electricity. Now, there's no better way than that. That's all of our energy problems are solved. All of our energy problems are solved if
if we look at that instead of all the other things we're doing. So Oklo is well positioned to take advantage of all these new technologies, emerging technologies that are increasing energy usage. If you look at, there's levels to civilization and how they use electricity. And energy will never just stop. We'll never have enough energy. Energy concerns will go on forever. So companies like Oklo that can step in there and provide that cheap, safe electricity are going to do extraordinarily well in the future. With that being said, hope you guys have a great day. See you on Strategy Sunday on my Instagram. I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to do it on Instagram. Hope you guys have a great day, and I appreciate you, and have a great rest of your week.